Well, every now and then you need to give somebody something to take home so that the parents will not think they are that bad. So that's why we at KITE, we allow them something small this time.
Okay. So it's like when you go crab hunting, you get one for the young boy.
You, thank you. So, whilst we've been whipping them, the Ashanti region champions are us. So now we just thought, let's relax more. Let these Bantama boys get something in there.
You think that because of Prempe at 50, they should win this one?
Yes, and also, they cry a lot. They are crybabies. They cry a lot. And if you're not careful, they'll summon you to mentia and all those things. They like that protein too much. So we allow them.
Okay, I'll get back to you shortly, Kojo Poku. I'll get back to you shortly, and I'll take your favorite Kojo entry song also before we get into this conversation. But I think Prempe won the Ashanti Regional Championship. They beat OAS and Technology Secondary School. So it's just a repetition of what happened in the regional finals. But it's time to be a G with G Money, the most reliable and secure mobile money wallet. Take part in the win like a G promo and win monthly rewards or brand new saloon car as the grand reward. Now, to sign up, visit any G Money agent or GCB Bank branch nationwide, perform transactions to build points and win amazing prizes as fridges, air conditioners, and many more, or a brand new car. G Money agents are part of this amazing promo. Sign up customers, perform more transactions, and win too. The more points, the better your rewards. G Money is powered by GCB Bank, Ghana's largest and safest bank, Papanaba. Be a G. Tratum with G Money on any mobile network. Now, the sights and sounds of Joburg, a day of shopping at Nelson Mandela Square, bar hopping in Soweto, Big Five watch at Kruger National Park, immersive cultural experience at the Robbing Island, and so much more. This could be you and your mates this festive season in Joburg, but you haven't visited southafrica.net to book the best package deal for your getaway. That's exactly what you should be doing. Now get fast and refreshing relief from stomach upset with number 10 liver salt. Number 10 liver salt restores vitality and provides effective relief from stomach upset, nausea, hyperacidity, and indigestion. Number 10 liver salt, a refreshing relief when stubborn coughs, cold, or catarrh interrupt your life. Get fast and effective relief with Stop Cough. Stop Cough range is suitable for adults, children, and babies. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor. Stop that cough with Stop Cough. Right, so Kojo, before we get into the conversation, today is Kojo Ntri's birthday, your namesake Kojo. So I don't know, which of his songs is your favorite?
It's sad that I'm not really a Kojo Ntri fan. I'm the other Kojo fan.
Kojo Fosu.
DL. Yes, I'm a DL fan. But if you have to push me to choose a Kojo Ntri song, I think Afafranto will be my favorite.
Afafranto.
But yes.
Okay, I will do that one for you shortly. Before we get into the conversation, but let me just read some of the messages that have come in this morning. Says, if minority will be able to hold their ground in opposing the budget, it's up to them. Trust me, not all the minority will oppose the budget. Ghana shall prosper again. That's from at Eugene Pepra. At C_Tete says, the conventional wisdom holds that politicians can't be trusted to keep their promises. The connection between manifesto promises and subsequent government policy, known as the program to policy linkage, is never measured, and a politician is not held accountable. Ibra25 says the minority should do that for Ghanaians because this budget is going to kill us. Failure to do so means they actually support the government and also means we won't forgive them come 2024. At Nkansa, Derek says once the minority focuses on drilling constructive criticism, the people will be convinced the game of politics is indeed up for a change. And at Rosie99 says, at the end of the day, the budget will be passed. There's no minority in that chamber. They all won in that chamber. And at Bensel N says, I believe they will because Ghanaians will be watching them, and I think they also have the suffering of Ghanaians at the center of their minds. Stay with us. There's more after these messages when we zoom in on our energy conversation.
For Pepsodent, smiles are one of the most important things we have. The problem is, globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. Pepsodent, with maximum cavity protection, helps to prevent the formation of cavities. Pepsodent, because every smile matters. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Maudada no pediani bianye di pa and the pe wo malt milk ena cocoa mo e mamilo muda shima.
From Nestle.
Every ahwehwe side to the nkatu yi mu agya to say eye. Hey, welcome back to work.
Charlie, thanks, bro. Thanks, bro.
Malaria really knocked you down, eh?
Charlie, no joke. Hey. Fever, headache, vomiting, loss of appetite. I couldn't even eat my usual fufu.
You and fufu?
How we go do it?
I hope you got tested before the malaria treatment.
Oh, yes, I did. And thanks to Malatu, I kicked out malaria one time.
Sharp. Anyway, sorry to ruin your excitement, but your boss asked of you.
Okay.
She says she has plenty work for you.
No problem, Charlie. Strength day.
You see,
When malaria strikes, take Malatu, containing Artemether and lumefantrine. Comes in tablet and suspension for the effective treatment of malaria in adults and children. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor. Malatu is manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
The legends have gathered. Brace yourself for massive thrills as MTN celebrates 25 years of brightening lives with the very best of GH music at the MTN Music Festival 2021. Yes, the first Christmas party of the year goes live at the Grand Arena with some of Ghana's finest. Kwabena, Sugar Daddy Kitty, Obaba Christie, and the rock star Kwame Eugene on Friday, 3rd December from 7 p.m. sharp. Tickets are selling now at 50 Ghana City Standard and 100 Cities VIP from Joy FM. Nalam Clothing at the Accra Mall and Ahum Store, Palm Wine Junction, La Accra. Dial star 713 star 217 hash and follow the prompts to purchase with Momo and enjoy a cool 10% discount. Don't be left out. Join us as we set the tone for a very merry December at the MTN Music Festival 2021. All COVID-19 protocols will be strictly adhered to. This event is powered by MTN. Everywhere you go.
No victim of gender-based violence should be silent. Every human deserves dignity and respect. If your health, dignity, and security is undermined, you must seek assistance. Call the Orange Support Center for assistance on toll-free number 0800 111 222. This message is by the kind courtesy of the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA.
Putting up or replacing a roof is not just laying the panels, it's a complete engineered system. And at Roofings and Steel Ghana Limited, we understand how the whole system works and are resolved to give you the very best quality in roofing and steel products. Manufactured locally in Ghana, we offer a range of steel and galvanized pipes, mild steel plates, and all ranges of roofing sheets, IBR and IDT, corrugated and galvanized. Our locally manufactured products are tropicalized to withstand local conditions. Distributors, wholesalers, contractors, builders, welders, and fabricators. It's time to get the best quality roofing and steel products made in Ghana. Visit our office at Chopoli on the Tema Aflawo Road. Call us on 0559 722 035 or 0552 571 173 or 0242 539 411. Roofings and Steel Ghana Limited, your strength in steel.
Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D no not now. Ogonto malaria too. Popo. What do you mean? I want you. No, not. A dabako. No, not. A damienu. No, not. A damiensa. No, not. No, not. Scatter malaria.
Lonat, it scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu who se malaria wa umojum ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yen search na malaria no daso wa ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
I love this station.
All the I want find you, Jimmy. Yo.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
What you trick is strapped to me, sway. Or the body to me trips on the go. Send on the don't ever not come here. Before my warning, I send the don't for. With me rush, that's the way we back what you say I am one say, I won't venture in somebody. Oh, I'm fun toy. What you know could go soon.
Kojo, good morning again.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Winston. Your voice is gone down, so I can hardly.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good. I'm curious because the last time I spoke to Kojo, he told me that there are some of his songs, if you like them, he can tell the reason why you like the song.
Okay.
I don't know why you like this, but the words.
But don't you think this song is really pertaining to everyday life, the what we go through?
Mm-hmm.
What Dana Onegwa Bonting? What that them now Onegwa Bonting?
Now, why who offend what they do?
Oh, my wife.
Oh, okay. Now, so wife didn't go down Onegwa Bonting.
Yes, but the point is that the bit where he says that what actually catch that also. You know that thing where Nanka is a very big snake, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
as a tip balance, what you catch it to so I want to come baby.
Okay.
So let's leave it there.
We'll leave it there. Where it's going, I know we have to leave it there. And let me say good morning to you also, Ishmael Edjekumhene, who is Executive Director of KITE. Good morning.
Good morning, Winston.
How are you doing?
Oh, good.
I like your shirt.
Thank you. And apologies for...
don't worry.
It's Accra traffic. And
yes, Accra traffic, particularly around this time.
Yeah, for some reasons, I had internalized the 8:30 that you've been doing this week, so
Okay. Someone just whispered to me, Samuel Adami came and said, which school are you supporting in NSMQ?
I'm a Kumasi boy, so I'm tempted to do Prempeh.
You're tempted to do Prempeh?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kojo is also doing Prempeh?
Yeah, I schooled in Ken University, lived in Kumasi. I'm from Kumaru, so...
Oh, okay, so you want a host and win situation?
I think so, and... I think the pre-seconds they shouldn't do the 7 this year. At least they should wait for a while.
Okay, I also schooled in the Volta region, so I'm supporting Ketasco.
Good.
Yes, I went to Mali school.
Okay.
But I'm supporting Ketasco now.
Because Mali is not in the contest.
Yes, because Mali is not in the competition. And because the fire is burning, Julali, I am supporting Ketasco to win.
I think they are doing well.
Oh, they are doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, having gone to Mali school, let me be very honest, so long as it is not Bishop Herman winning, I don't have a problem.
and also, it makes the competition interesting if the so-called underdogs, if one of them should win, it makes it interesting. That it's not a foregone conclusion that the big boys are going to win again. It's for them to, just like West Africa Secondary School a couple of years went to the finals. You want to see these kind of variety so that it doesn't. I felt yesterday, I thought that for the first time Gehe they were going to at least be the first girls' school to get into the finals and possibly.
They're actually the first girls' school to get to the finals.
Yeah. So
they were there in, I think they lost to Van Spem. That was in 1999 or so.
That's a long time.
A long time. So they're the first girls' school.
For Gehe, they should be aiming to win.
Okay. Well, the girls may not be happy with you. Let me just do a few and then get to the commencement of the conversation. But the Bobo app is finally in Ghana. So Bobo has the most affordable rides in Ghana now. And you can use Bobo app to order food, book airlines, vacations. And you can also use Bobo app to request over 30 different services at home, all from your Bobo Super app. Invite 20 friends today to use Bobo app and share 200 CDs with them on the app. Bobo takes no commission from drivers, so drivers keep 100% of your sales made. No other app offers this except Bobo. Download Bobo app from the Play or App Store. Bobo, the app they be. And you can own a home from as little as 240,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, you heard right. From as little as 240,000 Ghana cedis. Same price as buying a new car today. Sefi Realty is offering huge discounts on their 2- and 3-bedroom apartments this Christmas till the end of the year. So homes that are designed and built to reduce your cost of living and as an excellent opportunity to invest. Nyamidia apartment located in Tema, very close to the Palace Shopping Mall. Now these are affordable luxury homes in a gated community with 24-hour security and various infrastructure and amenities. So if you're looking for a home that will save you money or an excellent opportunity to invest this year, call Sefi Realty on 0551 43 5555 or 0551 438888 or visit them online at nyamidiagh.com. Terms and conditions apply and prices are subject to change on monthly basis and only a limited number of units are available. So let's get into the conversation now. And, we started on Monday. Yes, we set the tone. Yesterday we looked at the challenges within the energy sector. So we know what those challenges are. But we also know that the energy sector recovery program talks about how we can overcome these challenges. And let me start off with you in studio, Ishmael, before I get to Kojo. What are the plans outlined in this particular program, to solve the problems that we're faced with?
Okay. Good morning to your listeners. I know Kojo he should be leaving, so I don't know whether.
Okay, so maybe we might just start off with Kojo.
I think so. So
yes.
let me defer to Kojo so that he's going into another meeting, so that I'm here, I can continue.
Yes, Kojo. So tell us some of the plans that were outlined in the energy sector recovery program that were supposed to be used in solving the problems we're faced with.
Okay, so morning to my brother Ishmael, and thank you for inviting me and making me part of this conversation. The energy sector recovery program was to look at a few things. One was to make sure that we put measures in place so that the excess capacity situation does not arise again. Because you realize that from 2012 to 2015, because we needed capacity in the country, there were solicitation where individuals can come in and say, look, I want to produce power without any competitive bidding. Government will engage. And one of the measures that the energy sector recovery program was to put in place is that there will be no more solicitation or bidding. It has to go through a tender so that Ghana gets a competitive pricing in terms of the energy that we acquire. Then the second part was to make sure that we take out the put call option, which is the take or pay, and make sure that all purchases or power purchase agreement will have a take and pay. Then the third part will be to make sure, and something that every president has been talking about, to make sure that all MMDAs are installed with prepaid meters. Okay? The prepaid meters, and make sure that those security areas that cannot be installed with prepaid meters have enough funding to pay their bills on time. So those are the key. And then the implementation of the cash waterfall mechanism, which makes sure that when money comes in, I think through PULC being the overseer of the cash waterfall mechanism, will distribute the money to everybody so that the indebtedness for when in the past where ECG will keep the money and decide when to disperse the money goes down. So these are the key areas that you see that it will stop the piling up of debts and basically clear the sector of its indebtedness. And those are the key pillars that were supposed to go into the energy sector recovery program.
Let's look at the implementation of it. It's very important. I'll come to you, Ishmael, and I'll get to you, Kojo. So we've talked about addressing the take or pay situation. When it comes to addressing the take or pay situation, where are we?
I wish I had a little bit more time to at least pay some tribute to my mentor, Edjekumhene.
Briefly,
not having been here all week.
You can do that.
I think it's very, very important that we acknowledge this man that the Edjekumhene Foundation is celebrating. He was a good man, and he was actually my mentor. Our first interaction was just by accident, but he ended up changing my career. And the fact that I'm sitting here talking energy with my land economy background and public policy tells you the kind of impact that he's had on our life. It's a shame that he had to leave untimely, but we believe that the fact that we are sitting here 25 years on with me sitting here as the director of KITE, and also the fact that I'm talking energy shows that he's left some lasting legacies in this country, and it is our prayer that whatever he couldn't accomplish, those of us left behind can give it the necessary push. And that's why the foundation was set up. And also a prayer that he will find eternal peace for his soul. So I thought I needed to do that before I talk energy. But the take or pay situation, I think there's a unit in the Ministry of Finance called Project Light. And Project Light is the one tasked with the responsibility of renegotiating the PPAs and making sure that the IPPs would agree to that situation. But the truth of the matter, Winston, is the fact that I have a valid contract with you, a binding contract that you signed yourself with your eyes open, ratified by your parliament. So if you want me to come back to the table and talk, then something has to give. What am I getting in return? So obviously, we can get some of them to change their, what they are trying to do is to reduce most of the capacity charges. But the take and pay contract, I don't know how the take or pay contract can suddenly be changed into a take and pay contract. So they are on it. There's a unit that is renegotiating most of these power purchase agreement, and there is also the policy to say that no, the Energy Commission will not issue the license to any power plant that has not been transparently and competitively procured. So now that's the policy is in place, and PURC is not allowed to approve any tariff for any plant that comes through the back door. So that's how we are seeking to address the problem that we have, preventing the repetition of the problem that we have today. So if you ask me about the specific issue of the take or pay contract, that's what is going on. They are in talks with most of the IPPs, but it's going to take, I think it's taking a bit longer than some of us had envisaged, but it's also understandable because you are negotiating with somebody who is in a strong position.
Now, the PPA Review Committee recommended the termination of 11 contracts.
Yeah.
And so for those contracts, and he said terminate 11 PPAs at a cost of what? $402 million. Maintain 8, which have a capacity of 2,070 megawatts, and postpone 7 with a total capacity of 2,960. The question is, these 11 have been terminated, haven't they?
Yes. So those that were terminated were those that had power purchase agreement but hadn't started construction at all. The ones that are being renegotiated are those that actually some of them had started and had even, some of the plants were ready to dispatch. So those you can't terminate. So the ones that were terminated were those that had PPAs with ECG, mostly with ECG, but hadn't started. But when the committee looked at the projection, demand versus supply, and what would have happened if those plants had been allowed to go forward, it would have meant that the problem that Winston we're talking about today would have been worse than what would have happened. So yes, those 11 that the committee said should be terminated were terminated. The ones that the project lights are talking about are the ones that were either had already been completed or were under construction, have now been finished. So Sempower, for example, reached completion date June 2019, and Early Power and those other plants that were allowed to go ahead because they were way far down the road as far as their projects were concerned. Those they had to go ahead, and for those they are having to renegotiate. You recall that even Car Power and the Access, they are talking to all these IPPs to see how they can lessen the burden that our current excess capacity is imposing on not only the energy sector but on the economy as a whole.
Let me get to you, Kojo. So, this renegotiation, do you know the stage in which we've reached and how is it going?
Well, it's not going anywhere. We've not gotten to any stage and it's not going anywhere. As my brother Ishmael said, the person has a contract. You see, what the Ministry of Finance don't seem to recognize and the politicians also don't seem to recognize is that these are guarantees. It's a bank guarantee. The companies took a loan from the bank and the loan was given to the company based on the guarantee. So it's a back-to-back. The government gives a guarantee to the company used that guarantee to secure a loan from the bank. Now, the minute the government withdraws that guarantee, it means the bank loan is due. So the banks will not allow you to go and renegotiate a guarantee that you've given them. So honestly, I was very surprised when the Minister of Finance about 3 years ago came to the floor of Parliament and emphatically said that he was going to convert all take or pay to take and pay, which was not possible. We said it at the time and we're saying it today. No company which is operating today that borrowed money from the banks, and all the companies borrowed money from the bank. Something like Early Power and some of these ones even have something like IMF and the World Bank financing. Okay, so it is not possible to withdraw your guarantee from these people. What the take or pay is that, look, I am giving you a guarantee to build a plant. When you build a plant and I do not need the usage of the plant, I would at least give you some money to cover your cost of the plant. Okay? So that is the basic meaning of take or pay. What the government wants to do is to say that you build a plant. If I don't use you, I don't pay you anything towards the cost of your plant. So it means that if you spend $100 million to build a plant and I don't use you for 1 month, you need to go and find your own money to go and repay your cost of borrowing. Okay? No bank will lend you money towards that because a whole lending process has to be a full circle. There has to be an offtake agreement. So what the government wants to do is to take away the offtake agreement, which no bank will agree to.
Yeah, but Kojo, we also know, and Ishmael is here, that when it comes to pricing of electricity, for instance, we look at the total generation and consumption, and based on that, we use that in determining the tariff. Now, this excess capacity is not going to be used in determining tariffs. So if that is not going to happen, who's going to pay that?
Well, my brother, let me inform you. Going into 2022, we no longer have excess capacity. Okay? Because now, when people were talking about excess capacity 4 years ago, we have been growing in our demand. Okay? So the demand has now caught up with the supply. The excess of 400, 500 megawatt is your spinning reserve, which the conversation now, which the government and the parliament need to have, is that how do we pay for the spinning reserve? Because at any point in time in electricity generation, you need to have a spinning reserve, which has to be about 18 to 20% of your total capacity. So now that people are saying that excess capacity, if you do the calculation of the installed capacity and our demand at present, okay, our peak demand, we are no longer in that territory where people are saying that, look, there's huge excess capacity. There isn't. And in 2022, this demand will also grow, and the spinning reserve, which will be left. PULC, my brother Ishmael is at PULC. PULC is to come up with how do we pay for the spinning reserve. As it is now, it is not factored, and it is seen as a wasteful cost, but it is not. Because you cannot run an entire generation system without a spinning reserve. And as it stands now, that amount is not factored into our pricing. The second point that we need to understand is that if we do not resolve this policy immediately, the other PPAs that are supposed to come on in 2023, 2024 cannot come on. And if we are going to do tender, my estimation is that by next year, we should start putting in tender documents to make sure that we put a bid in by 2023, because it takes 3 years for a plant to go to financial conclusion and be built. So in a nutshell, the way the politicians and Ministry of Finance is dealing with this thing, if we are not careful, we are going to enter 2026 and we'll back in doom so.
We get into 2026 and then we get back to doom so. Certainly it's something we don't want to get to.
No. Okay.
Yes, Ishmael, come in briefly before I get to my question. I mean, once you say no.
No, okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So what I meant to, not to challenge what Kojo is saying, I don't think anybody or Ghanaian should ever allow anybody to take us into those dark days. We shouldn't accept that.
Yeah, but based on what he says,
yes, but what it means, what Kojo is basically saying is that, and to put the discussion in its context, when this ESRP was written, 2018, 2019, we had excess capacity.
Yes.
That excess capacity, there were two types. We have the excess and you also have the idle capacity. The excess is the plants that are being dispatched, but we don't need all of what they are ready to produce. And the plants that were ready, but we weren't starting the plants at all, those were the excess capacity. Whether by 2020, in fact, in our estimation, I think the equalization of demand and supply will be a little bit further than 2022. But the point still remains that to plan for the future, we should be looking at, if we're saying that we're going to go into tendering, then from next year, like Kojo is saying, we should be, with a proper plan, we should know the additions that we should be adding on to in the foreseeable future, so that we don't get caught in that trap again. But the problems that we have now in the excess capacity that we're talking about, they've been incurred already, because we didn't use those plans. Even though we're closing up the gap now, we didn't use those plans, and the debt would have to be paid. The problem is also not only the power sector, but we also have excess gas supply, which we contracted in the understanding that we'll be using it to generate power. I mean, the difference is still yet to be closed, and those payments are still being made. So yes, the problem as it is now and the way forward was at the time to say that, look, how do we ensure that, one, if the IPPs will be kind enough, let's just put it that way, to come back to the table and said, okay, looking at the numbers, we will be able to do something about certain variables that would help us bring what we call the capacity charges down. That's what the renegotiation is all about. But the question of whether we were going to convert all take or pay contracts to take and pay contract, like Kojo was saying, it weren't too clear how that was going to be feasible. But the alarm bell that Kojo just rang is exactly what this conversation is all about. How do we ensure that we deal with the current problems, current challenges, to ensure that going forward, we are not caught pants down again, and we end up in a situation where nobody wants us to go. In the process, there is still some existing debt that we need to clear. Otherwise, nobody will even be interested in coming in to sign any contract with a sector that is already poor, and they wouldn't want to do business with us.
Great. So, I mean, I'm looking at our peak demands. I mean, a little below 3,000 megawatts.
Yeah.
I'm looking at our installed capacity, about 5,000 megawatts.
Yeah.
The question is, I mean, between the 3,000 and the 5,000, what happens to the 2,000 megawatts?
Okay, so the argument that Kojo was making was this. You see, when you look at just the 5,000, 5,000 is the total installed capacity.
Yes.
But then the dependable capacity is usually less than that. So, I mean, all the plants, for example, if it's a 500 megawatt plant or 350 megawatt plant, you don't expect the plant to be able to be available 100% of the time. So most cases around 90, 92%, 95%. Most of these new IPPs are fairly reliable and they're going to be available. So you always have, so for example, the 5,000 megawatts include Bui that is rated as a 400 megawatt plant. But Bui hardly would do 400 megawatt. It's a peaking plant. So there is the difference between the installed capacity and always the dependable capacity and the plants that are available to be dispatched. So that's the difference. But Kojo was talking about the fact that in any power system, you need to have a spinning reserve. And averagely is between 18, some people will put it at 20%. So you can work out 20% of that and say that, okay, if our demand is at 3,900, to be safe and know that we are covered in the event of any eventuality, let's put 20% on that. So the difference between that, so if you calculate that 20% of the 5,000 megawatt or the 3,000 megawatt, 20% would be like another 600
megawatts.
Exactly. So when you add it to the 3,900, that should be what the capacity that at every point in time, assuming demand doesn't change, should be available. So that was what Kojo is talking about. But there's still a difference between the installed capacity, the dependable capacity, and the projected demand. That's what I was saying, that in our estimation, yes, the demand-supply discrepancies, they are closing very quickly. In fact, if you look at the supply plan, demand actually surprisingly grew more than was anticipated, which is good. I mean, this excess capacity that we're talking about and all the problems that we have on our hands, it should have been a very nice problem to have. But the real problem is that we couldn't ramp up demand because the cost of the power wasn't cheap. So you wouldn't get a lot of people coming. If you want industry to come and take the power, for example, we could have decided to say, okay, let all the 6 port lines in Valco, let them start producing. But Valco can't produce at the unit cost that we are paying in this country. So yes, the installed capacity, the dependable capacity and all of that, and the spinning reserve all have to be put into the mix, and it tells you the difference and the gap and the excess.
Exactly, and putting all of this into the mix, Kojo, for the person listening to us now, putting all of this into the mix, how does it impact him?
Well, Winston, this will be my last submission. I have to run off to another meeting. A very interesting conversation, but sorry, I have to leave you guys. Okay, so this is what I have to say. You can put it in the mix, but the problem is that we've already procured very expensive power. And that is why I have constantly told this government that if you want to blame somebody for solving Doomsaw, give the credit to NPC for solving Doomsaw, but blame them for the mess that they've created, okay? Because they procured expensive power, and they talk about export of power, and they talk about Valco. All the power that the NDC regime procured, okay, in that time between 2012 and 2015, it's not power that can be exported. It cannot be given to Valco. So unfortunately, we are having to use it locally, and we can't even give it to industry because industry will not be competitive. What we need to now look at is ways of now bringing on board cheaper fuel. Some of these companies are already here. Car Power, Asogli, they are already receiving money, so they are in a position to negotiate with government to implement something that could be cheaper. Unfortunately, I don't know how that negotiation will go, but basically we need to get government to put its belt, tighten its belt, and have this conversation. But it needs to be resolved before the second quarter of next year. If not, we're going to get into problems.
What problems?
Well, like I said, but we will not get other companies to come and invest, because for now, no investor is interested in putting a plant in Ghana. No invest, because the environment is not right. They keep citing other countries like India that have a lot of excess capacity that is sitting there and is take and pay. The circumstances in India is different. The cost of borrowing in India is different. In other parts of the world, people are borrowing at 4%, 3%. In sub-Saharan Africa, government is borrowing at 8%. So imagine what corporates are borrowing at. So it's difficult for a private company to just put a plant there without being paid. And guys, I have to ask permission to leave.
Thank you very much, Kojo Poku, who's an energy analyst, for joining us. We're very grateful that you made time to stay with us. Let me get back to you, Ishmael. So, these plans that we put in there, it looks like we're not moving quickly as expected. What's accounting for, the slow pace in dealing with the measures that government itself said we're going to deal with?
Okay, so I think the simple answer is that most of the time it's easier said than done. When you have a problem that is as big as the one that we're talking about, and we're talking here about billions of USD, and part of the problem, let's even look at the solution. Some of the solutions, government says that government is undertaking that it will always ensure that the MDA bills are paid promptly. Who are the MDA? The MDA costs, the use of electricity, the MDA annually is around $150 million US. When you put all the electricity that ministries, departments, and agencies of government are supposed to pay. If you look at the ECG, their billing structure, the MDAs are supposed to pay something in the region of $150 million US. So, obviously, these MDAs are not paying their utility bills, not because they are deliberately, in most cases, are not paying, but they are all subvented state organizations who draw their budget from the state. So, if, for example, Ministry of, let's say, local government or the district assemblies are not paying their bills, unless we are 100% sure, unless these are supposed to be generating some funds internally, they all depend on disbursements from the government. So if one of the solutions is that going forward, government will ensure prompt payment of MDA bills, it's as if it's almost identical to saying that you've made a budget line in the budget statement that never gets disbursed.
But there used to be the conversation about giving them prepaid meters.
Yes,
so I pay and use my electricity.
Okay, so
why shouldn't the same be done for them?
Okay,
then we can stop talking about government having to pay.
Okay, so government, part of the solution in the ESRP is that government has identified what they call the strategic installations. So some of the hospitals, the military barracks and stuff like that, you can't disconnect them. So those institutions are not going to, you can't put them on prepaid. Okay, yes. So they're not doing that. So they've isolated that. The rest are supposed to go on prepaid. But then it's up to them to be able to generate enough revenue to be able to pay for their utility. So the government is slow as far as this is concerned, because it comes back to the problem that if you are switching, you recall recently when ECG turned off some universities, Kofodia universities, were the same people who said that, look, they should go and reconnect them. The problem here is that the university will be in a position to pay their bills when they are allowed to charge what they consider to be the true cost of running the universities. Okay, so the universities, if we allow them, they will probably tell you that if you take all the utilities, all the facilities in the university, if you were to be able to run them professionally, you and I'm sure you know somebody, or you yourself, you studied elsewhere, you know the kind of bills that you pay as a student when you are in residence and all of that.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the monies that we should be paying for us to be able to place such a strong demand on the investors that you have to pay your bills. If not, so you see that I'm not. What I'm trying to explain is that the problem is more complicated.
Okay.
Than so it's not easy for government to even enforce, especially when it comes to. I use the MDA as an example. We talked earlier on about the renegotiation of the PPA.
The PPAs, yes.
And we alluded to the fact that it's also not as straightforward as it is, because I have a valid contract that I've used to procure a loan facility. And said I should come back and vary the terms. I vary the terms, what do I get in return? Almost invariably, they will tell you that, okay, then you have to extend the tenor of the PPA.
So I mean, talking about some of these MDAs, and you started a school example, of course, if they're given the chance to charge right prices, we've seen that being done in other schools, even in Ghana here.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a course at UPSA.
Yeah.
Today they're doing a lot of things, and they're having to fund it by themselves. But the ESRP, the timeline was up to 2023. It's 2 years to, we end 2023. Does it look like we'll be able to achieve all the things we've talked about?
No. I think if you ask them, from our estimation, we are lagging behind. And you can take the activities one by one and ask yourself if, some of them we've been able to achieve. For example, to deal with the excess gas capacity, we had to move the car power. We're trying to try to reduce the gas prices so that most of the thermal plants will switch to. But a simple answer to your question is that no, we haven't been able to even dealing with. There are two problems, monetary problems in the energy sector. You have the legacy debt. So from the time that this ESRP was put in place, the baseline was drawn and said that as at the end of 2018, this was the sector's indebtedness. So that was the first problem, that government committed to paying that legacy arrears. That was why the ESLA bonds were being used to pay. And most of those debt were owed to the banks who had given money to fuel suppliers, and it was also threatening the survival of the banks. Beyond that, government in this ESRP had committed to saying that they're going to close the annual shortfall, revenue shortfall, which is averagely between 1.52 billion US dollars every year. Where is the shortfall coming from? The shortfall is coming from the contracted generation capacity, what we're referring to as excess capacity. That was what I was telling when Kojo Poku was saying that in 2 years' time or by next year there will be no excess capacity. Yes, there's been a former problem that we haven't dealt with. So from 2019 till now, 2021, every year, and not until these PPAs have been renegotiated, what it means is that they are still submitting their invoices, and that's where the revenue shortfall is coming from. You recall that you said the PRC doesn't allow. They don't allow the excess capacity to come into the mix.
Yes.
What PRC should be allowing, and they do allow, is a spinning reserve. So when they do the supply plan, the PRC uses the supply plan that all the energy entities come together and put together. That's the demand for the year plus the spinning reserve. So that's what PRC uses. And once they price it, any excess generation that doesn't go into the supply mix will be paid for by customers. So we are nowhere near some of the targets, the milestones that the ESRP set for us. For example, our utilities, the distribution utilities, we said that we need to ensure that they reduce their losses, and all these other problems. So the simple answer is that we are not on course. This thing is supposed to end by 2023. I am not too sure. From what we know now, we'll be able to achieve all the milestones. And what that means really is that the fundamental problems that the ESRP identified wouldn't have been addressed, and the consequence is that the healthy, financial, sustainable energy sector that we wanted to achieve, we wouldn't have been able to achieve by the set deadline. And it's very, very important that some of the warning red flags that Kojo was raising, if the sector is no longer sustainable, nobody will prepare to invest in the sector. And then once we've dealt with all the problems that we're talking about, we'll be faced with probably demand matching supply or outstripping supply, and then there'll be generation deficit, and then we will come back to the vicious cycle of. So we are not on course, and that's something that we want to really urge government to say that whatever the challenges are, let's speed up. Let's make sure it's a good plan that we have. But one of the things that I would have told you yesterday before I had to leave your show.
Finally, because yes, finally.
Was the fact that we are where we are because either we don't plan or when we plan, we don't implement.
Let me say that a conversation will continue on Newsfile on Saturday. A very extensive conversation on the state of Ghana's energy sector. This is being an Abeku Bruhaman Memorial Foundation and KITE in collaboration with the Spur Morning Show, bringing you a conversation on the state of Ghana's energy sector. Ishmael, thank you very, very much.
There's Ghana Connect,
us.
right?
Come again?
There's Ghana Connect.
Yes, that's on Friday. But this one, that's about the youth. But this would continue on Saturday on Newsfile. Folks, there's more after these messages.